Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm a Ukrainian Canadian. Today is February 12th, 2025, and let's get to the news and updates happening in Ukraine and Russia, shall we? So today's going to be a brief video. I'm going to talk about, these are breaking news. Trump had a phone conversation with Putin, and he also had a phone conversation afterwards with Zelenskyy, and also the whole subject of this war on resources, Ukrainian resources, and why I do believe that Trump is still leaning on supporting Ukraine despite his phone conversation or today's conversation with Putin, which seems to be a betrayal to Ukraine based on what Trump said. But I don't see any betrayal as far as I'm concerned here. So let's get over first what Trump said following his phone call with Putin. You can see that he had a very long statement on Truth Social today. So here it is. He says, I just had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, AI, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people and we likewise lost so many. Again, Putin forgot to give the detail that the Soviet Union helped the Nazis start World War II by occupying Poland in conjunction with Hitler, but that's a small detail. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have in working together. But first, as we both agree, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. That's debatable. If Putin had common sense, he would not have launched the full-scale invasion in 2022 and in the process killed hundreds of thousands of his own men and women, and same for Ukraine. So there is no common sense for Putin. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately, and we will begin by calling President Zelenskyy of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. I have asked Secretary of State Rubio, Director of the CIA John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I feel strongly will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would never happen if I were president, but it did happen, so it must end. No more lives should be lost. I want to thank President Putin for his time and effort with respect to this call and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, a wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, hopefully soon. So to be honest here, guys, there is really nothing concrete that has been said by Trump. There is no dates. There is no official compromise that was agreed upon by Russia. It's all very vague. And again, did you really expect Trump to tweet something along the lines of, I had a phone conversation with the biggest modern war criminal, Putin, who killed millions of innocent people? No, he's definitely not going to be writing stuff like this. It's not his style. We know that Trump wants to start negotiations ASAP, and that's why he has a very soft tone with Putin right now, because he wants to get the ball moving. He wants to present himself as a mediator for the Russians as well. He can't just say, Russia, you did this, you're going to have to pay dearly. He will only do that if Russia's not playing ball. And I believe that Russia will not be playing ball. Russia's not interested in really a true peace between Russia and Ukraine. So the chances of a successful ceasefire are extremely slim in my opinion. And I think Trump will learn that very quickly over the next few months. But the reason why he has all these statements right now, he's releasing all these statements, is we're seeing that there's a lot of stuff going on the past week. And I think that his first deadline that he has set is really February 24th, or at the very latest at the end of February, he wants to come out with something on the table for the entire world to see, right? He wants to present some sort of peace plan that would be a roadmap to this eventual peace between Russia and Ukraine. So that's why he needs to get the ball moving. He's calling Putin. He has conversations with different sides. And so there is going to be some announcement, in my opinion, on February 24th at the 3-year mark of the war. But I believe that Trump will have to go through this process, this entire process of having phone calls, negotiations, to understand eventually that Russia is only pretending to be interested in peace. Now let's go to what then was discussed between Trump and Zelensky. It was a much smaller statement by Trump following his phone call with Zelensky. He said that I just spoke with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. The conversation went very well. He, like President Putin, wants to make peace. We discussed a variety of topics having to do with the war, but mostly the meeting that is being set up on Friday in Munich, where Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio will lead the delegation. I'm hopeful that the results of that meeting will be positive. It is time to stop this ridiculous war, where there has been a massive and totally unnecessary death and destruction. God bless the people of Russia and Ukraine! Exclamation point. And Zelensky also detailed and described the conversation himself as well. He said that it was also meaningful. He said that they discussed Ukraine's technological capabilities and the cooperation between both countries in that regard, including drones and other advanced industries. He also spoke about his discussion with Scott Bessent, because today as well, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent visited Kiev to draft kind of and coordinate a plan in terms of exchanging Ukrainian natural resources for U.S. military assistance. So this is very positive news in my opinion. And so they also discussed kind of this cooperation, economic cooperation between both countries. So what I'm currently seeing right now is that there is going to be a battle between Russia and Ukraine, on which there's going to be a battle on who to blame for who's going to be responsible for the failure of these negotiations, because I do believe that they will fail, because Russia right now is not interested in any compromise. They still maintain their maximalist conditions. We already know that Russia does not want Ukraine to be part of NATO. Russia wants to fully demilitarize Ukraine. Russia wants to force Ukraine to cede oblasts that they don't control fully, including Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donetsk, and Luhansk, which is completely ridiculous, putting in jeopardy many millions of innocent Ukrainian civilians at Russia's mercy. So there is no indication right now from Russia that they're willing to step down on certain conditions and compromise. So this will be ultimately a failure. And again, Russia has a lot more to lose in a ceasefire compared to Ukraine, because Putin has built a war economy. And he needs this war economy to continue. He needs to continue being aggressive, needs to continue fighting in order to have this economy going. And his entire political system right now is set up on this. And one thing that we haven't discussed here, which is really important, is Europe it seems to be out of this this negotiation for some reason. They've been awfully quiet over the last few days. And Europe absolutely needs to find its strong place in these negotiations. They have to assert themselves as a powerful side, which we can count on, Ukraine can count on. Because yeah, if it's just Russia, Donald Trump, the US and Ukraine, for sure, Trump will probably try to force Ukraine to concede on many points. But if there's also Europe that says, no, we're also involved here, we are also interested in having a strong Ukraine, this changes the entire process. So we need to be seeing, and I'm already seeing France, Spain, and Germany actually just right now that came out with a statement saying that we need to be included in these negotiations, and we will not be making any deals with Russia unless we also take part in these negotiations with Russia and Ukraine. So that's very important. But let's keep ourselves cool. Let's understand that this is going to be a process that is going to be undergoing over the next few weeks. And we might be hearing a lot of pro-Russian statements from Trump, a lot of pro-Ukrainian statements by Trump. And this is all part of this process of negotiation where the US is playing as a mediator, and thus they have to appeal for both sides. We need to understand that. But the reason why I believe that Trump will still side more and lean more towards Ukraine is because Ukraine is currently giving more to Trump than what Russia is giving to Trump. And the most important here is really the Ukrainian resources. Now, this is not Trump demanding $500 billion in rare earth metals. This is something that Zelensky proposed even last year in his victory plan that he likely showed to Trump when he met him in New York City back in October. So now they're just making it look like it's Trump that negotiated this, but this was already on the table months before. And so you can see that Trump, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago during his interview, he said that I told Ukraine that I want the equivalent of somewhere around $500 billion worth of rare earth metals. And they've essentially agreed to that. So at least we don't feel stupid. Otherwise, we're stupid. I said to them, we have to get something. We can't continue to pay this money for Ukraine. Let's remember that Ukraine holds huge deposits of critical elements and minerals, including lithium, importing for batteries, and titanium. Also, they have vast coal reserves as well as oil, gas, and uranium. But many of these resources are in territories that Russia currently controls. So these promises for Ukraine cost nothing right now. And I've said it in the past many times that Trump's help is transactional. It's not goodwill based, and that Ukraine needs to change and change the narrative and push towards a narrative that we will give you this for that. That's what Trump likes, right? Trump sees things in what's in it for me. That's kind of his philosophy. He always wants to get something out of what he gives to others. That's the perspective of Trump. And the time of the Biden administration, where Biden was really helping Ukraine because he genuinely believed that he was he was helping the good side, that Ukraine was fighting for the values of Western democracy. Trump doesn't believe that. Trump doesn't stand by, I'm going to be backing Ukraine because they're fighting for Western values and Ukraine is fighting for its sovereignty. Trump could care less about that. Trump only wants to extract the things that he sees as positive for himself, like a win that he can get from supporting Ukraine. So this is very good news because Ukraine has a lot to offer to Trump. And as you see, $500 billion in rare earth metals that Ukraine is willing to share with the United States. Again, with the phone call between Zelensky and Donald Trump, Zelensky also mentioned that he's willing to trade and provide technologies that Ukraine has developed, especially in the drone environment and other advanced industries, military capabilities. So Ukraine has a lot more to offer than what Russia is willing to offer. Do you think Russia is going to be offering natural resources to the United States, help American companies set up shop in Russia? No, never. And that brings me to the other point. I think this is more about not allowing Russia and China having access to these resources in Ukraine. It's more about that than having the US being able to mine them out. It's not allowing China, which is inevitably the elephant in the room here, who has been sponsoring this war, because without China sponsoring and helping the Russians, this war would have been over a long time ago. We remember that China continues to buy resources from Russia, funding its war, continues to transfer components and key goods towards Russia. So exporting that and just sponsoring Russia. Russia's become a vassal state of China. And for sure, if Russia prevails and gets control over the entirety of Ukraine, definitely China would be expecting to get the resources for their support of Russia. So this is more about not allowing China to have access to Ukrainian resources. And I think that is one of the points that Zelensky has been pushing for as well to the Trump administration, that you don't want these resources fall into Chinese hands and then having control over the supply over lithium, titanium, and other rare earth metals. That would be disastrous for Trump, who is currently waging a holy war against China, right? He sees China as his number one opponent. So this would be an absolutely unacceptable scenario for Trump. And I think this is why I still see that Trump will be back in Ukraine. He's not a pro-Ukrainian. Let me highlight this. It's just that the statement, what's in it for me, he gets far more from Ukraine than from Russia. And that is evident. So that's the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed my quick video. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about these discussions between Trump and Putin. Do you have a different opinion? Do you disagree? Do you agree? I'm eager to hear your opinion in the comment section below. But the number one thing that you can do that we can always rely on is the Ukrainian forces. And so please, if you have any extra dollars that you want to donate, please donate them to the Ukrainian drone funds. And there's a link below to 2 different drone funds. So you can continue helping the Ukrainians defend themselves and put them on the strongest possible position during the negotiations, which could possibly fail completely. We never know, but please do help the Ukraine military. That's the only reliable thing that you can do, and the only thing that we can trust in the process of these negotiations is a strong Ukrainian military. So with all that, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Slava Ukraini!